Hey everyone, Matteo Galatas here. In this video, I'd like to share some information about the value of information. I want to use a little bit of an analogy and something that's going on in the world today to help us understand what information we should pay attention to, or it's valuable to pay attention to, versus what information may not be so valuable to pay attention to. Basically, if you watch the news or on social media and are listening to daily commentary about the daily events, you're going to experience spikes in emotions. Because when good news comes out, you're going to feel good. When bad news comes out, you're going to feel bad. When things go well, you're going to feel good. When things don't go well, you're going to feel bad. And on a daily basis, if you're paying attention to the media and to the news, then essentially what they're sharing and what they're commenting on is any bit of information that can cause a spike in emotions, whether it's a high emotion, a good feeling, or a bad feeling. And when you're paying attention to that all the time, what's happening is your brain is making associations to that information, and it's keeping you busy and occupied in that information. But let's take a step back, and let's say instead of listening to information every day, you listen to it once a week and you get that information. So you're not having those spikes on a daily basis of information. You're having it maybe on a weekly basis. So you get the whole week's news maybe in one spot of the week, an hour, a few minutes, something like that. You get a summary. Let's expand it to maybe a month. You just get the summary of the month in one day or one moment. You just go in, you get the summary of the month, and you continue with your work. Let's expand it to a year. So you get the summary of the year in one day. Let's expand it to 10 years. You get the summary of the last 10 years in one day. Now, as you expand the time horizon, this is what happens. The daily information becomes less important, and the movements of ups and downs and highs and lows and whatever's happening on the outside becomes less and less important if you expand the time horizon. So what this means is your emotional capacities and your emotional fluctuations are going to be less as well on a daily basis if you're not paying attention to the daily fluctuations in current affairs. Because that's all it is. It's commentary on current affairs. If you consider your life and you look back on the last year, you're not going to remember what happened every day, every moment of the day on a daily basis. You're not even going to remember what happened on a weekly basis. You're going to look back maybe month to month and find main themes or main moments, some good, some bad, some inspiring, some not inspiring, some helpful, some not helpful. You're going to find a number of events, but you're not going to have hundreds of events. You're going to find a handful of events if you look back in a year. If you look back over 10 years into your life, you're not going to see all this, the handful of events that you identified year by year. You're going to capture the main highlights of the decade. If you look back over your lifetime, you're going to look at not the daily fluctuations or the yearly fluctuations. You're going to look at what were the main highlights that I achieved in my life. What was important, valuable, and purposeful for me? And that's what you're going to give value and gravity to. That's what your mind is going to attend to. Now, if you're paying attention to the daily stuff, my message is it's not making a difference in the grand scheme of your life, paying attention to all of that. What it is making a difference to is your emotional highs and lows. So it's giving you a dopamine rush. It's giving the limbic system of the brain emotions and juicy stuff to eat. And it's like having fast food. Now, this is not really beneficial for you because when you're having fast food, it's not nutritious, it's not dense with nutrition, it's not very healthy. It simply goes in and a few minutes later you're hungry again. You're getting empty nourishment, empty nutrition. There's no nourishment. But let's consider that someone that puts out an article or a piece of work, maybe it takes them 5 minutes, maybe it takes them 10 minutes, maybe an hour to put together that work, that information. Maybe it takes 2 hours. It takes some time. Fine. But to put together a body of work in 10, 20, 30, 50, over 100 years, over a lifetime. It takes a lot of thought, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of research, it takes a lot of presence, it takes a lot of introspection and reflection. To write a book, for example, you've got to consider many different aspects. Your audience, how is the person perceiving it? A number of certain things. So to put out an article or a piece of news or something that's going to spike your emotions, high, low, whichever direction it's going to go, it's not information that's going to stand the test of time. The information that's most valuable, that stands the test of time, is information that somebody has given inspiration, they've given well-educated thought, they've considered a number of different perspectives, they've put together different researches and bodies of work, and they put this body of work over many, many years, a longer time span. And the value of this information is much more. And people that dive in to information that has great levels of thought put into it, and introspection and reflection and time and dedication and research, that information carries greater weight. And usually information with a greater time horizon generally stands the test of time. Principles stand a greater time horizon than information that's simply relevant for a day or a week. So my invitation to you through this video is to consider, what information are you feeding your mind? Are you actually feeding your mind information that's relevant for your progress and for expanding the higher centers of your brain and supporting you to move forward and expand as a human being and grow? Or are you consuming information that's like empty food, that's fast food, that's kind of hitting the dopamine centers and the lower centers of the brain and giving you a little bit of a spike in dopamine, a small hit right now, but isn't really adding true substance and value into your life? So just consider that for yourself, and that's a little message I'd like to leave you with. And consider what work you can start to put your hand into, put your mind into, that's going to expand your mind, work that stands the test of time. The great masters, the artists, the greats in the world, there's a few of them, have created work that literally stands long period of time. But the people that have put very little thought, very little work into their endeavors, that work generally doesn't go past their own generation. We see the generational work that goes hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years. That's taken a lifetime of dedication, work, and effort to put into. And that's what supports us to expand and have greater experience in time horizon. So my invitation to you is consider what works can you start to put that into, and start to move away from the work and the platforms and the media that gives you nice little dopamine rides and maybe something to think about today, but you're having highs and lows on a daily basis that's not really going to be relevant in the greater scheme of things.